So this is 3, and it's on. Well, yeah, there we go. Good morning. I'll say it again. Welcome, everyone. We're looking forward to today. We do this annually. The pandemic kind of threw a little loop in that, but then God took care of that. The next year, we received double what we were hoping for to take care of what we had going into the pandemic. So thank you for your contributions and your dedication to this ministry. And thank you to the speakers and the exhibitors, the community resource tables, as they are gifting their time to come to you and give you information about how you can improve your mental health through a variety of ways. I'd like to talk just a little bit about what is the love offering, and then I'm going to invite someone else to come up and talk about that too after Pastor Bob welcomes us. And that is last year we had 7,622 sessions in 2024. Of that, 5.8% were scholarship. They were partially or fully supported with scholarship funds. And then of the 7,620 sessions, the counselors, the clinical professionals on our team, if they decided someone needed to continue, they provided pro bono services, and that was 7.38% of our sessions. So thank you for helping people that have trouble affording the mental health that they need. Now I'll turn this over to Pastor Bob.
All right. Well, good morning. It's good to see everybody here. I'm Bob Martin. I'm pastor here at St. Pete First United Methodist Church. Until tomorrow, we get an announcement of our incoming associate pastor, so there'll be two of us again. So come and hear the good news. Hope. It's a great topic, and I was thinking on the way over, what can I share very briefly? Never give a preacher a microphone, but let me very briefly. What can I share about hope? I was drawn to Jeremiah 29. And let me just read this to you, and I think this is really important. So here's the context. The people of Israel have been taken out into captivity into Babylon. They've been stripped of their Jewish names. They've been stripped of their Jewish language. They've been stripped of everything, their customs, their cultures, their traditions, and everything that identify who they are. They are being told that they need to become something else, like the Babylonians. And so, as you can imagine, as they're in this land, they're depressed. They don't have hope. They probably don't want to live. But God sends them this message through the prophet. Here's what he says. This is what the Lord says. You will be in Babylon for 70 years. But then I will come and do for you all the good things that I've promised, and I will bring you home again. For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And in those days, when you pray, I will listen. And if you look for me wholeheartedly, you'll find me. I will be found by you, says the Lord. I will end your captivity, restore your fortunes. I will gather you out of the nations where I sent you, and I will bring you home again to your own land. Isn't that a message of hope? So what it says to us is you're going to learn today in a lot of different ways is wherever you might find yourself or whatever is happening or has happened, we always have hope. And hope cannot be taken from us. It is a gift given from God, although sometimes it gets masked and it gets hidden and we're not sure. But I thought that was important as we begin today's conference on hope. I wanted to take you to one more scripture very briefly, and this is a really important message of hope as well. It comes from Paul's letter to the Ephesians, and listen to this. He says, all glory to God who is able through his mighty power at work within us to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. Glory to him in the church and in Christ Jesus through all generations forever and ever. So God has placed it in you, and it's there. And it's time to discover if you need to. So welcome again. Glad that you're here. It's going to be an impactful day. Our counseling center has made such a huge impact in the lives of our community for a bajillion years now, right? Since 1977. And Dr. Marianne Carroll kicked that off. We were just talking a little bit earlier about seeds and God waters. So thank you for your continued support, and we're hopeful that today's conference will be of value to you, and I know it will. Let's pray. So God, we thank you as we open this conference, and we know that you are a God of hope always, and may we place that hope in you through Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, so we're going to have Lori come up and talk to us about a message of hope. Will you welcome Lori?
Good morning. As he said, my name is Lori, and I'd like to tell you a little bit of my story. My mental health struggles began in high school. At the age of 18, I was diagnosed with depression and borderline personality disorder. This disorder is characterized by unstable moods, behavior, and relationships. With this disorder, I also experience an irrational fear of abandonment and difficulty tolerating being alone. This makes it hard for me to maintain meaningful relationships. A year after this diagnosis, my depression symptoms went away, and I was weaned off my medications. I was doing fairly good. I was working part-time and going to school at what was then SPJC. Fast forward to 1998, I have 3 kids under the age of 6, and I am a graduate of UCF with a Bachelor of Science in Secondary Mathematics Education, graduating magna cum laude, and I had a job upon graduation. During my first year of teaching, I realized that my depression symptoms were returning, and my borderline personality disorder was slowly spiraling out of control. Things developed quickly, and after 4 years of teaching, I was without a job. By December of 2002, I was in the hospital. My mom came and picked up my kids and took them to Naples with her. Upon discharge from the hospital, I moved my household to Naples and enrolled my children in school. I tried to work, but it was very hard. I sought help in the form of a psychiatrist and a therapist. Unfortunately, that help failed me, and I found myself in and out of the crisis stabilization unit 25 to 30 times in the 3 years I lived there. On January 18, 2005, I had to make a decision that no mother should ever have to make, and that was to give up custody on my kids. I gave them to my brother. Because the help I sought failed me, I in turn failed my children. On that day, I lost my children, my apartment, my job, and shortly after that, my car. I ended up in a homeless shelter. After going from shelter to shelter, I ended up in Punta Gorda and back in the hospital because I had run out of my medications. I had hit my bottom. My mom came and picked me up, and I came to St. Pete in 2006. That same year, I entered Bowley Sitter's program, and by 2008, I was stable enough to have my own apartment again. I started coming to St. Pete first in 2010, and in 2012, I started at the counseling center. I had many therapists along my journey, but this one was different. She wouldn't let me play games, act like an adolescent, or simply tell her what she wanted to hear. She gave me a choice: change my behavior or be discharged from therapy. Well, that kind of woke me up. I went home and I prayed for God to show me what needed to be changed. And at the next session, I told her that I knew I needed to change, but didn't know where to start, so I asked for her help. It was a lot of hard work, but 13 years later, I can stand here and tell you that I have made great strides. However, I still have work to do. The last time I was hospitalized for a mental health crisis was in 2012. I have restored my relationships with my 3 adult children, and I continue to work on healthy boundaries and communication with them. For the past 3 years, I've been volunteering at the church, serving on First Impressions and the Discover First Membership Committee, because I found that when I get busy, I get better. I was able to return to college, and I got a new job at Winn-Dixie, where, this is an example of God's work, I was just named Associate of the Month for the month of March. Recently, I have begun teaching myself that it's okay to be alone, and I don't need to reach out and call or text someone all the time. A phone is a good resource when used in moderation. I have found that working with a Christian counselor not only helped me overcome my mental health issues, but it also incorporated prayer, which strengthened my faith and encouraged me to pray on my own, opening up a dialogue with God. I have been able to see God's hand in my recovery, thanks to my Christian counselor, even though sometimes I need her to point that out to me. It also helped me to learn to reach out to God first before reaching for my support system, therefore strengthening my dependency on God and lessening my dependency on others. That way I can learn to develop meaningful relationships. I know that I would not be here today if God had not led me to my Christian counselor, and I am truly grateful that he did that. I wouldn't trade her for all the money in the world. She's awesome. Thank you for letting me share a bit of my story with you today.
I'll just introduce myself. Good morning. My name is Inda, and I wore really bright colors so you can't miss me when you're looking for somewhere to donate today. And I know that today is really about hope and for the sessions that are going to be held here, which are going to be awesome. But it's also an opportunity for the counseling center to receive hopefully some funds so that they can serve people here in this congregation and the wider community, honestly. So I personally have been helped by counselors in the past when I was not living here, and so I know the importance of it. And I'm hoping that you do too. We've tried to make it super easy for you. We have these QR codes that you can scan with your phone and just donate online. I think we do touchless pay, checks, cash. We'll take it all. Promises for payment. We have tables downstairs. So please go ahead and visit those, and if you don't want to, you can, look for me, and I will help you. And that's it. Thanks.
If our exhibitors could come line up down here while I say a few more words, I'd like to introduce at this time myself. I'm Dr. Peggy Reynolds, or Margaret Reynolds. I'm the director of the counseling ministry. And now I'm going to introduce our counselors and have them stand up and give you the welcome wave. Dr. Cabito. Dr. Deb Down Spencer. Say a little prayer for Marty. She's not feeling well today. Marty Seitz. Courtney Ellis. Deborah Krause. Reverend Bill, one of our speakers. And Deborah Clements is not here because even though she used to be in our office with us, she changed her ministry into a telehealth only and moved to Portland, Oregon to help take care of her granddaughter. So, Deborah Clements. And as Pastor Bob mentioned, the woman that was given a vision for this ministry, Marianne Carroll. In 1977, she was given a vision, and today she told me I had no idea it would become what it is today. So thank you. God knew. I said God knew. And I came here thinking it would be a part-time retirement job. God knew.
Hello, I'm Doug Porter. I'm in the process of getting organized a group here at St. Pete First to help with disaster response. I've been involved with this ministry since 2006 and have gone many places. When I got the email from Margaret, I was a little bit set back because I don't have a mental health degree, but as I thought about it, I realized that in what we do, we give hope to people who have reached the end of hope, and that keeps us going. Nice to be here.
So look for him downstairs.
Hi, I'm Lori again. I'm with the Al-Anon group that meets here. The Al-Anon family groups are a fellowship of relatives and friends of alcoholics who share their experience, strength, and hope in order to solve their common problems. We believe alcoholism is a family illness and that changed attitudes can aid recovery. Al-Anon is an international organization with meetings around the world. There are over 40 meetings held weekly in Pinellas County alone. Here at First Church, our meetings are held on Thursday evenings at 7:30 in the church parlor on the second floor. We welcome anyone who is affected by someone else's alcoholism. Look for me downstairs.
I'm Barb Willie, and I represent Stephen Ministry. We have several Stephen ministers here today. Would you please stand so people can identify you if you're an active Stephen minister or a trained Stephen minister? So proud of this team. Stephen Ministry is a congregational ministry with a national flavor, actually international, and it's been providing care for over 50 years. Marianne Carroll is quite the legacy lady today because she also was the one who kept refusing to help start this ministry, but she finally said yes, and we're so very grateful for that, Marianne. We love you. Our congregation equips lay people. We're all lay people. We are not licensed counselors either, but we take 50 hours of training so that we can provide a caring one-on-one ministry to anyone who comes our way. We care for people in a confidential manner, and we kind of are the bridge, I like to say, between our licensed therapists and our friends and family. And so if any needs that you may have, and you just think it would be wonderful to have a confidential conversation once a week with someone, we're the place to start. And also, if you'd like to become a Stephen minister, don't let the 50 hours of training frighten you. We've all done it and survived. And so we have a table downstairs which will give you an opportunity to sign up to either get more information about becoming a Stephen minister, or if you'd like to have a Stephen minister. Thank you.
My name is Marcella, and I've been going to Women's Journey for about 5.5 years now. It's a faith-based group. It mirrors Celebrate Recovery Guidelines. It's a great place where you can share your hurts, habits, struggles, happiness, and you can do it in a confidential setting, and I recommend it to everyone. It's a great place to share, a safe place. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Bell Sowers, and I am here representing Faith Community Nursing. We partner with St. Anthony's Hospital to do blood pressures once a month, and we have a wealth of information. We have a bulletin board. St. Anthony's Hospital sends us monthly updates on that bulletin board, and we post them so that people can read them. And we've had a program here for about 30 years, and we've partnered with St. Anthony's Hospital. Thank you very much.
Good morning, my name is Josh Sprode. I'm with the Pinellas Suncoast Sierra Club. Thank you all for the invitation. The Sierra Club is a national organization that works to preserve our environment, to mitigate and prevent climate change, and also to adapt to the effects that we know are coming. And we also do that through a frame of equity and justice for the communities who've been impacted by our environmental choices in the past. So we try to work through educating the community, organizing people, and advocating to our leadership for environmental protection policies to preserve our lands, our waters, and our wildlife, and of course to benefit everyone in the community in a just way. So thank you so much for the invitation and your inspiring stories.
Hi everyone, my name is Alika with the Clio Institute. We're a nonprofit that focuses on climate change education and advocacy. It really relates to mental health, as a lot of young people are struggling with climate anxiety, climate grief, and climate change is affecting the people and the places we love most. And this is an intergenerational fight. Our founder, Caroline Lewis, says, "We are not passing the baton, we're running the race with you. So if you want to run the race with us, come check out our table." We have a wonderful event coming up on Wednesday with energy experts to explore feasibility study to see if we can break away from and have energy independence from Duke Energy. So come stop by. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heather. I am with Gulf Coast JFCS. This is Michael and Maura. They're with Gulf Coast as well. They're representing the Hub, which is a community-based space for wraparound mental health services. I'm the assistant director for the call team. We are partnered with St. Pete Police, and we do crisis response and linkage within the community.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Teresa Resum-Gasco. I'm a professor of biology at St. Petersburg College on the Gibbs campus. They were on 5th Avenue North and 66th Street. I'm also the advisor for the garden club on campus. It's called Food for Thought. And one of the missions of the garden club, well, it has several missions. One of them is to provide organically, freshly grown produce to the SPC community, but also to reduce stress levels on the students and improve their mental health. So we're very happy to be here invited by you guys. We have a table downstairs where we brought some seeds and pots, and you can come plant some vegetables or flowers and take home. And there is no better description of hope than hoping for your seeds to grow and actually harvest something to eat, right? So we hope to see you all down there. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for being here, all of you. You may be seated, and our call team will be our first speaker. Our first speakers are the call team. As they mentioned, they partner with the St. Petersburg Police Department, and I'm going to let them describe what their organization, how it is created, how they partner with the police department, how the community can access their resources, and thank you very much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hello, I am going to apologize. First, I am currently on shift, so if my phone rings, I apologize, but our work never stops. My name is Heather Loychek. I'm the Assistant Program Director for the call team. We are a branch of Gulf Coast JFCS, and we have partnered with St. Pete Police to provide a social service response to 911 calls. So when a 911 call comes in, the comm center vets it to make sure it's not violent or criminal in nature, and then instead of officers responding, we respond out. I think I have a PowerPoint somewhere. Our PowerPoint? There we go. Okay. Tiana Audette is our clinical crisis intervention senior director. Her information is up there. She couldn't be here today, so myself and Michael are standing in for her. So officers wear a lot of different hats, and those just keep getting piled onto them. When you grow up, you're taught if there's an emergency, who do you call? 911. The universal helpline is 911, but these officers are not trained and do not have the tools that social service individuals have to help with mental health crises. So we respond out instead of them. There's only one other program in the United States, and it's in Portland, Oregon, that responds separate of law enforcement. A lot of law enforcement agencies do co-response, which is a mental health professional riding along with an officer, and they both respond, but we found a lot of success in us responding out separate of law enforcement. This is what we wear. We have no gun, we have no badge. We are just like anybody else that we're serving. And I want to start off by asking a question and get responses from you guys. What is crisis? Who can tell me what crisis is? Okay. Oh, perfect. Yes. Yep, so crisis is self-defined, right? What could be a crisis to you is not a crisis to me, and vice versa. So we respond out, we are non-judgmental. We are here to find out what can we do for you in this moment to make you feel safe and secure. And then we'll link you to those services. And one of those services that we link to is the Hub, which you'll hear about in a little bit. I don't know if our PowerPoint, thank you. Okay, so these are the calls that we respond out to. These are just some call types: mental subject, Baker Acts, suicide threats, Marchman Acts, disorderly juveniles, truancy, neighbor disputes. We've recently added homelessness, call for assistance, which could be any social service need, and check welfares. So this is just a broad umbrella of the calls that we respond out to. We, like I mentioned, get our calls from somebody calling 911 or the non-emergency line. If we are on shift from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day of the week, and when we're not in the field, we have a supervisor that has the on-call phone, and our clients can call that at any time that they feel like they need a little extra support. If we're not in the field and an officer has to go out to a call, they can do an officer referral, which is just a brief explanation of what the call was, why they went out there, and what the individual needs, and then we will respond out the next morning when we get on shift. If an officer responds to a call, like a domestic violence call, for example, which would be deemed a violent or criminal call, we can't go out to those. If they get out, they stabilize the situation, secure the scene, and realize that that person might need some social service linkage, they'll call us out, we go out and respond with the officer to provide the help that that person might need. And a lot of times when we get there, we will say, is there any safety concern? If the officer says no, we'll ask the officer to leave, and we'll just work one-on-one with the individual that's there. So this, what you're seeing up here, is just kind of how we assess each call. So there are times when we'll go out, and if a person, it comes in as a friend calling, my friend's making suicidal statements, we go out, and if that person truly is suicidal and needs a little bit extra help than what we can provide, or they need a secure transport to a facility, that's when we would lean on an officer. We have a 98% success rate of not having officers respond out at all, and we have over 6,000 contacts in the community, so that's pretty big. Thank you. We do a lot of, this is what our team is: a licensed senior director, which is Tiana, myself, the assistant program director. We have 2 licensed clinical supervisors right now, and then we have licensed 1099 contractors who, if we are out with somebody and we feel like they might need assessed on a more clinical level than what our navigators can provide, we'll call them out to get that guidance. We have 14 navigators, a field specialist that works across the agency in all of our programs, and we have the youth engagement specialist. We were blessed enough to receive a grant from the National Football League that focuses on the youth of the community, and with that we were able to hire a youth engagement specialist. So we're very grateful for that. This is our hours. We do pull our call numbers the times that our calls are busier than others, and we'll shift our hours or our staffing on those hours based on those numbers. We have an 8 to 6 shift, 11 to 9 shift, and 4 to 2 shift. Like I mentioned, that's 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 2 a.m., and if we are not in the field, you can call us. I'm currently in the field and on call right now, so the phone goes off. But that's just a great resource so that they know we are your support line. It doesn't matter what day, what time, if you need us, we're here, we're available by call. And so most people feel like if they're not in the field, I have to call 911, but I don't want to call because I don't want officers coming to my house. We took that stress away. You can call us. We can try to stabilize you, calm you down, and then come out when we're in the field, but we're always here for you. I kind of mentioned this already. We do our 911 calls and our non-emergency calls. On-scene requests would be from a sergeant whose officers are out there and deem it's a social service issue. Officer referrals, and then a big part of what we do is proactive follow-ups. So we're going to come out, we're going to help you, stabilize you in the crisis, bring you to a hospital if that's where you need to go, link you to a therapist if that's what you need. Sometimes it's just, I haven't eaten, we're going to get you food. Sometimes I need my medication but I can't afford my copay, we'll pay it for you. I need a ride to pick my kids up from school and I don't have a car. Get in our van, let's go. So we'll do whatever you need in that time, and then we're gonna follow up with you. So if I link you to a therapist, and I'm gonna call you the day that your therapy appointment was to make sure you went and see how it went, see if it was successful. They have the saying, therapists are like shoes. You have to try a few pairs on before you find the right fit, right? So if that's not the right fit, we'll link you to another one. And then we have our 24-hour crisis line. Yep, you're good. So our training, we do lots and lots of online training. We do mental health first aid training. Yesterday, actually, we did our scenario training and situational awareness training, which is with the St. Pete Police Department. And we just put on scenarios that we would encounter in the community, and the officers give us safety tips. The clinical supervisors will give clinical feedback, just so that we can make sure that our awareness and our safety is always on point since we're not responding with an officer. We do safety planning with individuals. One of our goals is to divert Baker Acts. If you're not familiar with what a Baker Act is, it's an involuntary hold where somebody is placed in a crisis stabilization unit. We don't want to do that. If you're willing to go, we're going to take you voluntarily. We're going to follow up with you. If you can keep yourself safe, we're going to safety plan with you at home. We're going to make sure you have the support that you need, and we're also going to be a safety net for you. So we really try to divert having to take them anywhere against their will, which is big in building trust and rapport with our clients, and having the same clients know that they can call us and we're going to help them versus just, okay, get in the van, you're going to the hospital, and that's really not what they need. Most times when we get calls and somebody's suicidal, we can figure out, why are you feeling suicidal? What has changed recently? Is this a history that you've experienced, and what's worked in the past? So officers, they go and they know either arrest them or Baker Act them. We have the time and the training to sit with the individual, find out, why are you feeling this way? What can we help you with? Like I mentioned, maybe they didn't eat. Maybe they don't have clothes. It could be a very small stressor. What seems small to us can be major in their stability. We do trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing. So we have a lot of training that we put our staff through and we go through ourselves. This is our data. We have over 1,600 contacts, or 16,000, sorry, contacts in the community. Over 3,000 of those are from officer referrals. So at first, the officers were like, oh yeah, what's a social worker gonna do? Give everybody a hug? Kind of, yeah, that's what we're gonna do, and it's gonna work, you know? So the buy-in from the officers at the beginning, they were a little skeptical. And now we are getting officer referrals every day, multiple times a day, because they see that our program is working. We have over 6,000 clients served. Over 2,000 calls to the 24/7 line. So that's our on-call line, which proves that's working too. You're calling us, you know that you can call us, we're here to help you. We, knock on wood, have 0 incidents of any injuries or threatening situations when we're out in the community, which is another big feedback that we got from the community. You're going to people's homes with no weapons and no officers? Social workers, case managers have been doing it for hundreds of years. This is nothing new. It just seems scary because the calls come in through 911. Over 93% since the beginning contacts without law enforcement. The 7%, a lot of times where we have to click the box that says yes, is an involuntary transport. And so we, in our contract, have kind of switched that to, even if this person is under a Baker Act, if they're cooperative, can we just put them in our van and take them to the hospital versus an officer having to come, per policy, put them in cuffs, put them in the back seat of the cruiser and take them to the hospital. So we have adjusted that, and we have successfully began transporting people under involuntary holds in our transport van, which is just a soccer mom van, nothing different. Our reduction to Baker Act since call was implemented is only 2% of the clients that we served being placed under an involuntary hold. So that's a big success for us. And I can't see what that one says. 97% have resulted in a diversion of Baker Acts or Marchman Acts, which is a substance abuse hold. With our NFL grant, which is what I spoke about earlier, we have respite hotel stays. And this is huge, especially with the homelessness issue getting larger and larger every day. And we are able to take a client, and even if it's just, I have a job interview tomorrow and I need a shower and I need a place to sleep and charge my phone, we can put them in the hotel for the night and make sure that they get that shower, make sure they get the rest, charge their phone, feed them. Families, we've had families that we've put in the hotel for up to 2 weeks until their name is pulled on a family shelter wait list. So we've really been able to be the middle ground of when that family has no other choice and is sleeping on the streets. We can put them in the hotel until their plan, which what we refer to, their plan is successful and they're able to carry out that plan. Like I mentioned, this grant is very youth focused. So we've been able to do a lot of youth engagement activities that we weren't prior able to do. And recently we just worked with the food insecurity team, who took a bunch of kids out on spring break adventures and took them to museums and the movies and out to lunch and things like that, and we were able to fund that. There is a summer camp that we work with that's held at Eckerd College, and we were able to buy them over $4,000 of supplies for that camp, and we were able to purchase all the t-shirts for the kids that are going to that camp. We have our youth engagement specialists respond out, if able to, respond out to any calls that come in for people under the age of 18. So that could be what's labeled as disorderly juvenile, and it could be, which we've gotten, a parent calling and saying, my kid won't wash their hands before dinner. Can you come out and help? Or we've gotten, my kid doesn't want to wake up and go to school, and the mom is just, or the dad is just so frustrated. And we are able to go in and relate with that youth. Why don't you want to go to school? Sometimes it's just they are a senior and they have senioritis and want to sleep in. Sometimes it's a bigger issue. Bullying, test anxiety, a number of things. And we're able to, with our trained youth engagement specialist, talk to that individual, help that child feel seen, feel heard, feel like somebody's on their side, because we all know when you're a teenager or a child, everybody's against you, right? So it's great to have that youth engagement specialist that can relate with them. And 80% of the time, we are able to divert that youth from any law enforcement interaction. And sometimes that law enforcement interaction can be they're on summer break, they're bored, they hang out with their friends, get a little rowdy at the library, and then the librarians might have to call officers. But if we're engaged with the youth, we're finding sports teams that we can pay to put them on. We're finding summer camps, art camps, music camps, whatever that we can find to keep that youth engaged in something healthy and productive. They're not causing any trouble. They're not getting into any trouble. And we're setting them up for success down the road. So that has been amazing. We have done 2 rounds of a USF Center for Justice Research and Policy Equity Evaluation. That was a mouthful. They did a part 1 and a part 2. With the part 1, our hours were only from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. They were able to pull data and see that a lot of officers were responding to calls that the call team would go to between the hours of 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. So then we took that data and we expanded our hours. They noticed that a lot of calls were youth. We applied for the NFL grant, and now we have a youth engagement specialist. So studies like that and partnerships with USF have really helped us up our game and be what the community needs us to be. We've also done some toolkits with Vera Institute for Justice and Law Enforcement. We have done the NFL Inspired Change Grant, and just a number of things where we're able to sit with people. We just had Venice Beach Police Department do ride-alongs with us because they want to model a program. We've sat with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. We've, met with officers in Ohio and Portland, Oregon. And we are just able to sit with like-minded individuals and have a program that is working and help them model something similar. So it's been really great. And now, Michael from the Hub is going to talk.
I think she should continue for my part too. My name's Michael Vokar. I'm the Hub Navigator, and I work with an amazing coworker, Maura Keene. She's the intake coordinator. And let's see, where's the PowerPoint? All right. Ooh, it's a little far away. So we're resident-centered, and I really can't read that, so I'm going to be turning around a little bit. We basically have a space for all, so we're welcoming and inclusive. We welcome people of all ages. They do have to be in the St. Pete area, particular zip codes. And we provide assertive outreach, clinical services, as well as care management. And that can look many different ways. Some people just need a bus pass, transportation. Some need a little bit more assistance. I would say it just depends on what they come to us with. And Maura would be the one that would find out what their needs are. It's a Hub's assessment need, and then I would circle back and make sure all their needs were met. I meet in the community very often at parks with our residents. I will meet them at their home. So whatever's convenient for them and makes it easier for them. So we find out along the way what works for them. So again, I mentioned it should be St. Petersburg, so we have 12 zip codes that we service, and that's part of our process when we talk to them and we find out which area they're in. We don't not assist everyone if they're, let's say, in Largo or another area. We will share whatever information we have for them. Unfortunately, we're not funded for those areas, so we really cannot, provide the services that we provide to the 12 zip codes that we have. And again, as I mentioned, any age group, and I apologize, I can't read that far away. Maybe I should have brought my glasses. But they can be insured or uninsured. So many of the residents that come to us don't have insurance. So that's not a problem. We are funded for that. Okay, so for the assertive outreach, we have another great coworker. His name is Micah. He has a team of people that actually goes out into the community, and they basically reach out to the participants or residents that have been partaking in our services, and all of a sudden we don't hear from them. They will make every effort to go out there and knock on their door or try and call them just to see if they're okay, if they're fine, what had happened, what kind of roadblocks they have encountered, and then they get back to us so we can reconnect them, let's say with mental health therapy or with whatever service we were working with for them. They're also present for major events like hurricanes. Last year, as you know, we've had 2 major hurricanes, but we had food service provided at our location where the hub is, and we would have anyone that would need food, that wasn't able to make food at their home, they would come to our location and we would serve them fresh, warm meals, and that was really a big event for us. Okay, the care management, we have another case manager at the hub. Her name is Monica Ortiz, and she is amazing. She, along with what I do, we provide wraparound services, so it's, like I mentioned, mental health referrals, or we have different type of, like people that apply for benefits. They may have a difficult time navigating through the online registration or through the paperwork. We will sit down with them and go step by step and help them fill that out. We've often had residents come back into our office so we could help them with whatever it was that they found challenges with. So again, navigating social services. The next slide, I believe, we'll talk a little bit more on how many providers we have, but we basically coordinate things for them because very often the residents that come to us do not know exactly how to get from one step to another, and that's why we help bridge that for them. Okay, so as I mentioned, clinical services, we have over 30 providers. After Maura's done with the intake, she will walk them over to my office, and I match them up with what they're looking for. Is it a male, female, or if they want in-person or virtual sessions. So again, you find out exactly what they're looking for, what their needs are, what they're struggling with, if it's trauma, if it's just daily stressors, it could be many different things. But it's important that you really talk to them, which, like I said, we do in the intake process, and then I circle back in my navigation in meeting with them to make sure we get as much detailed information so we know which provider we can connect them with. And that's gone pretty well. We've had no issues. We connect people very quickly, and I've referred, I would say, over 80 residents. I've never had someone say, hey, this is not working for me, or, the therapist is not a good match. So we try to get a really clear idea of what people are looking for and what their needs are. So again, it could be stress, it could be grief. We, with the hurricane, we have a lot of people that have had things they didn't have to deal with before. So now all of a sudden they have a plate full of things that it's overwhelming for them. So that has given us a little bit of a spike of what, people reaching out to us. And we do have one provider that provides med management, and that's an important piece because some of them need therapy and med management. It's prevalent that they need just therapy, but we have a few that also benefit from med management. Okay, so we talked a little bit about they can have insurance or not have insurance. We are ARPA funded. So we're ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act, and it can give them up to 15 sessions at no cost to them. So that's something that has been pretty amazing for people, especially today in our society. Everything has a copay, everything has some hidden costs. This is at no cost to any of our residents. And like I said, our providers, the 30 plus providers we have, they're all, when I send a referral through, I put on the referral ARPA funding so they know exactly how to bill and how to communicate back with us. And that's been, again, another pretty amazing process that we haven't had any issues with. So ARPA also covers co-pays and like I said, anything that's associated with those therapy sessions. So how do you get a hold of us? That's always important, right? So we have a number, and I'm not going to try and read it, but you can tell what our number is. We also have a website. So if they call, we get a voicemail that gets forwarded to us, and I'm very proud of our team. We respond within minutes. When we're extremely busy, it's a couple of hours, but it's always the same day. It's something that we've been able to do. The same way when people go online, some people are more comfortable with texting and emailing, and they will indicate that online, their preferred way of being contacted. So it's the same process. You have people either calling us or sending an internet inquiry to us. And of course, we have the walk-in option, which we're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and we're at 1601 16th Street South. We do also offer Saturday appointments, but that has to be pre-arranged because we're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, this is the end. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. How informative. I always learn so much when I get to host one of the mental health events. So right now, you have time to just stand and stretch, to visit here in this area, or if you need a restroom break, ladies this way, gentlemen this way, and then a little that way. There are extra restrooms downstairs. Inda, you want to do your Vanna White thing here? It's also an opportunity, if you are so inclined, to make a contribution, a love offering to the scholarship fund. And we will begin again. Oh my, I didn't bring up my program. What time is the next speaker? 11:25, so try to be here a few minutes before that for your next speaker. Oh, and there's a QR code. Can they do it on the screen? And you may have noticed some pictures that look like family pictures, and a pastor in a long black robe, and that's Dr. Smalling. Dr. Smalling is the person that was named the scholarship fund because he was the director of the counseling ministry for over 30 plus years. An amazing man. They created the scholarship fund after his contributions when he retired. Stretch, visit, contribute, restroom, QR code.
Okay.
to get it close to you. So just bring it in closer.
Okay. Mic check, testing 1 2 1 2. We're good to go. Thank you, everyone, and that was the presentation. Have a great day.
Ask Nick if he wants you to move that mic any closer. His name is Nick.
Nick, mic okay?
What did he say?
I have no idea.
Because I would say mic and move closer. Mic and move a little bit closer.
Closer.
Closer. Move it close, close, close.
Close, close, close. Got it.
I'm going to do that. If that doesn't drive you totally nuts.
It will. Yeah. A little intrusion of private space.
And I've got a picture of this book.
Oh, awesome.
I've got a picture of the cover of it.
Perfect.
When we get to that.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. For just a moment, I know some of our team are still downstairs probably, but I would like to call your attention. Where's Phyllis, still downstairs? Stand up, please. Phyllis is our administrative assistant. She's very helpful. Jackie is our receptionist. She is also very helpful. And our counseling committee members, if you could please stand. They oversee and advocate and work for this event as well as other things that help this ministry continue moving forward from the original vision of Marion Carroll, who is on our committee again. And years ago, I think it was 2007 or 8, something like that, I had moved to Florida when I married my husband and moved back to Florida, this coast instead of the East Coast. And I was trying to figure out what God wanted me to do next. And my brother, who is a Methodist pastor, said, there's some people I want you to meet. And he started with Dr. Smalling. And Dr. Smalling invited me to a network of Christian counselors where I met some of the other counselors that are currently on our team, but that's when I met Reverend Andy Bell. So I've known Andy for quite a while, and when we would have an opening in our office, I would say, Andy, could I talk you into joining us? No, not yet. It's like, so then we'd get someone else, like Deb Krause, or like Dr. Nancy Simons, or Courtney Ellis. God kept sending other people to us. And then finally, was it like the 4th time? Andy said, okay, I think I'm ready. So he has a passion, and he's going to talk with you about the passion that he has. Andy.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you all for being here. I am truly honored to be here. I am passionate about creation care and environmental work. I do have a passion. I also have a cold that I'm getting over, so, I love talking to all of you, but let's keep 2 or 3 feet. Just 6-minute limit, 2 or 3 feet. I remember that. I'm glad to be here. Again, I'm Andy Bell. I am a licensed clinical social worker. I am at the Counseling Center here at the church, and I'm also ordained clergy. Shh, don't tell anybody. Counseling ministry and creation care or environmental work are 2 driving passions that I've had for years. My connection with Earth runs deep. I was originally raised in a tiny little town in North Georgia you've probably never heard of, but I was raised in that time when a lot of us kids, we were told, go outside and do not come back in until I call you, which could be hours. So there was lots of time for outdoor adventures and exploration, climbing pecan trees in the backyard. Even though I was a town kid, lots of time in the North Georgia mountains, hiking, some camping, damming up creeks and streams and catching all sorts of little creatures and beings. So it was very early in life, and I wouldn't have used the terms at that time, but I created a relationship with Earth, with nature, with all of God's creation. So let's fast forward a little bit. 1996, I was serving as associate pastor in a church in North Atlanta, and I gave my first ever Stewardship of Earth sermon. Let's just say that the reception was mixed. The senior pastor's wife, lovely lady, I love her to death, she said, that was nice. The other extreme was this elderly gentleman who was literally yelling at me, berating me in the back of the sanctuary, accusing me of lying to the people. Welcome to the world of environmentalism, even in church. Since then, more recently, I have been involved in several venues. I became a Green Faith Fellow. I was on the board and executive director of Sunshine State Interfaith Power and Light for several years. I actually taught an environmental humanities class down at Florida Gulf Coast a few years ago. That was a hoot. The kids were great. The young adults were great too. And I was also, for several years, on the Florida Methodist Conference of the Creation Care Task Force. So I am really passionate about this work, about the earth that God has entrusted to us. So today, I want to be clear from the beginning, and I'm going to try to condense literally a 1 to 2 day seminar in about 45 minutes. So I'm going to have to get really quick in just a few minutes because there's a lot to go over. But I'm going to try to save time for questions, and if not, downstairs, corral me. I'd love to talk about this stuff. Today, we are facing converging crises that touch every facet of our lives: global climate change and environmental degradation. The facets of our lives that they especially touch physically, emotionally, spiritually. My aim today is twofold. I want to first acknowledge all of the psychological, the emotional impacts that environmental degradation and global climate change are having on we the people. And I also want to cultivate active hope. Active Hope, title of the book. Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone were the co-authors. The driving force behind the term Active Hope was created by Joanna Macy several decades ago. But through their work, they explore, in this book especially, the latest findings in climate change that I'm going to talk about today, psychological and spiritual dimensions of climate change, and today we're going to dig into very practical strategies, building resilience and fostering healing. Here's the good news. Very little of what I'm going to tell you guys today is going to be new to you. That's the wonderful thing about what I do as a therapist in this work. I tell people what they already know, but we all need reminders sometimes. We all need affirmation. We need a little nudge. So I'm going to start with a question for you. I want you to consider why. Why do we care about this? Why is any of this stuff important? And I suspect the reason why is kind of like, what's a crisis? The answer to that question is going to be a little different for all of us. But I'm going to tell you what some other people have said through history about why these things are important. Any of you know the name Edgar Mitchell? He was the 6th man to walk on the moon. He spent years learning all of the life support systems in his Apollo capsule. And when he was circling up there, looking back at the Earth, it occurred to him, our life support system. And then later when he was on the moon, he realized and he said, we are all connected. Over the last century, more actually, most of us have gotten very disconnected from Earth, from our own spiritual, our own physical and emotional connections to Earth. And we spend way too much time inside houses, in air-conditioned and heated buildings, and God, please help us. We have now been taken over by and obsessed with these little tiny screens that we hold in our hands that consume and waste so much of our very precious life energy. So here's what some ancient people said about why we should care. Let's go back to the Hebrew scriptures in the book of Genesis. You know, we've heard the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. The Hebrew word for Adam is Adama, which literally translates to earthman or earth being, or as I like to call us, animated dirt clods. We are earth. But in that same chapter, in chapter 2, we're told the Lord God took Adama and put Adama in the garden to till it and keep it. Not a great translation. Those two words, till and keep, in Hebrew, avad and shamar, which literally mean to serve and to preserve. So if we think about it, our first commandment, our first instruction from the Old Testament or the Hebrew Scriptures is that we are here, our purpose is to serve and preserve earth, the garden. I'm curious, how many of you have ever heard a scripture sermon that said that? I didn't think so. Okay, moving on. I know that we human beings, we can get really kind of persnickety about our ownership and our domination, dominion, which takes me to the book of Leviticus, 25th chapter, where it says, "The land shall not be sold in perpetuity, for the land is mine, saith the Lord. With me you are but aliens and tenants. Throughout the land that you hold, not hold, you shall provide for the redemption of the land." That's kind of a pretty stark contrast to our modern economic ideas of short-term profits and consumption with no consideration of long-term consequences. Pastor Bob, a few minutes ago, he was mentioning the Babylonian diaspora. What a coincidence. There's a story from the 2nd century Babylonian Talmud I want to read to you. One day, Honi was walking along the road when he saw a certain man planting a carob tree. Honi said to him, "This tree, how many years until it will bear fruit?" And the man said to him, "It will be 70 years before it bears fruit." Honi said to him, "Is it obvious to you that you're going to live 70 more years, that you expect to benefit from this tree?" And the man said to Honi, "I found a fruitful world because my ancestors planted for me. Likewise, I am planting for my descendants." And what's fascinating to me is that there are still indigenous cultures on this continent that consider the impacts 7 generations forward for their most important decisions. Crazy thought, huh? Maybe we should too. One more ancient perspective from the Christian scriptures, John 3:16. Everybody's heard John 3:16. If you watch football, John 3:16, it's everywhere. "For God so loved the world," and it goes on. I'm stopping there. We don't even need to translate to the word world. It literally says, "For God so loved the cosmos." Crazy. Everything seen and unseen, known and unknown on the earth and through the universe, the ancient people and modern people believe God loves it all. And if that's true, how much more are we called to love, to serve, and to preserve everything that God loves? Shift. Climate change science. I'm going to be brief, going to run through this quickly, going to give you a very tiny synopsis of some very, very complicated scientific stuff. Bear with me. Bill's saying when you're training, tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you just told them. What I'm going to tell you about the climate science is climate change is real. It's serious. We human beings are largely to blame for climate change and environmental degradation. Overwhelmingly, scientific consensus supports this. Number 5, this is the important one. There is hope. And what we're going to talk about a lot today is active hope. We're going to get to it. I see my wife smiling. Last weekend, I thought I had the whole presentation done. She read it. She came out, long silence. I said, "Okay." She said, "The title says hope. There's not a lot of hope in here." Like, okay, so there's a lot more hope now. I promise. We're going to get to it. So let me be clear on behalf of scientists globally, I need to clarify this. Climate change is not responsible for any single environment or weather event. It just isn't. However, we know for certain that climate change acts as a powerful amplifier, exacerbating the intensity and frequency of many extreme weather events. God help us, we have lived through some. I'm not going to overwhelm you with numbers, but some of these numbers are really important. First, I want you to think about the numbers 270 to 280, 270 to 280. Roughly for the past 10,000 years, roughly the amount of time that human beings have been living in civilized societies, carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, was in the atmosphere at a level of 270 to 280 parts per million. Don't get hung up on the parts per million. A couple of hundred years ago, roughly the beginning of the industrial age, we human beings, we learned how to start extracting carbon-based fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, and burning them at rates never before experienced on the face of the planet. Once you think GHG, greenhouse gas emissions, we now calculate those in the atmosphere by the gigaton. Who knows what a gigaton is? I see some heads nodding. 1 billion tons of gas in these greenhouse gas emissions. That's how we calculate. In 2003, global greenhouse gas emissions reached 53 gigatons. Of the 53, 37.4 gigatons of all that directly carbon dioxide emissions. Here's a name for you, Dr. James Hansen, a scientist with NASA's Goddard Space Center. He and his team spent several years trying to answer this pivotal question: what is the upper limit of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to avoid the most catastrophic impacts of climate change? Well, in 2010, Dr. Hansen and his team finally came up with a number. I agree. The number 350. 10,000 years, 270 to 280 parts per million. The highest limit before we started getting into really deep stuff, 350. Last week, I pulled up the numbers. 424.61 parts per million carbon dioxide globally in the atmosphere today. The emissions are continuing to rise. We are going in absolutely the wrong direction. Folks, temperatures are rising. 2024 was the hottest year ever recorded. And yes, sea levels are rising. So here's the bottom line. Global climate change translates to more extreme weather patterns. Hotter heat waves, more intense cold spells, stronger and more frequent storms, prolonged droughts, torrential rainfall leading to increased flooding, more wildfires, a rise in pestilence, rising sea levels, reduced crop yields, and many more. And over time, massive displacement and environmental and climate refugees. We're not talking about globally other people wanting to come here. We're talking about in the United States of America, especially on the coast, people are going to be displaced by climate change and rising sea levels. We are the canary in the coal mine in Pinellas County. So what are some of the impacts? What is all this doing to us, human beings? I want to talk about some of the psychology, some of the spiritual impacts as well. The field of eco-psychology emerged in the 1970s, specifically to explore the psychological connections between people and nature, highlighting how environmental change can significantly impact our well-being. Early research links between exposure to polluted environments and degraded natural landscapes has increased stress, diminished overall well-being, not to mention the documented effects of environmental toxins on cognitive function and intelligence. As the consequences of climate change have become more pronounced, researchers began to systematically investigate concepts like, and they were already mentioned today, climate anxiety, eco-grief. These terms can cover pretty broad spectrums. By the early 2000s, studies were documenting that people who were being exposed to environmental degradation, especially the news, just news related to environmental degradation and global climate change, were already having significant psychological and emotional effects. The Journal of Environmental Psychology indicates that continuous exposure to climate change news, just the news, not even the actual events, can lead to heightened stress, anxiety, depression, and even trauma. And these emotions can be amplified when individuals understand the converging crises of climate change and environmental degradation as an existential crisis, an existential threat to us and living beings on this planet. So, I know we have several clinicians in here. Quick show of hands, guys. How many of you have patients since the hurricanes that had direct impacts from the hurricanes? All of us. I still have patients today who haven't been able to return to their homes. A couple of them aren't sure if they will. Imagine what that does to somebody's very soul. Excuse me. Another term I want to mention is already eco-grief. Eco-grief is a deep sense of loss for the degradation of natural beauty and the loss of biodiversity. I'm curious, I'm sure some of us have, maybe some of us older folks, how many of you have experienced that there was a place that you knew in life that you loved and it's now gone? Several of us. Little town I was born in, there was a mountain just north of town, a mountain. The local utility bought it, blew the top off of it, and created a hydro peaking plant. It used to be beautiful for hiking, lots of wildlife, lots of life up there. All gone. Fortunately, mountaintop coal removal has significantly slowed thanks to public pressure. But I want you to know that in the Central Appalachian region, there are now over 500 Appalachian mountains that no longer exist. They were blown up, they were bulldozed to extract a seam of coal, and then the tailings were bulldozed into the valleys. Most of those landscapes are now barren. The topsoil was gone, it was buried. The streams were buried. The wildlife, the people displaced. I need to bring this one up. I'm not going to go into depth. But there's a new term that has been emerging in the last few years. Eco-suicide. It's a real thing. For people who understand the depth of climate change trajectory, it can be so overwhelming. They can become so disillusioned, so overwhelmed, become so nihilistic, they engage in self-destruction. We need to change that. Two more psychological concepts we need to dismiss. This rugged Western individualism, suck it up, for us guys, man up, do it on your own, take care of it, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And the other that goes along with that is, it's so big, it's so, we're too far gone. There's nothing we can do about it, so why should we even bother worrying about these things? Both of those mindsets shut people down, and I want to tell you this. No single person, no individual among us created these converging crises, and no single one of us can fix it. We can't. But together, we can. We can come together. We can do the work. last thing I want to bring up with the psychology, I want to read a study, just a short paragraph out of a study. This is critically important because we perceive crises differently at different developmental stages. And this was published in the medical journal The Lancet in 2001. The research surveyed 10,000 children and young adults aged 16 to 25 across 10 countries. The findings were sobering. I want to read them. Respondents across all countries were worried about climate change. 59% were very or extremely worried. 84% were at least moderately worried. More than half, more than 50%, reported each of the following emotions: sad, anxious, angry, powerless, hopeless, guilty. More than 45% of the respondents said their feelings about climate change impacted them negatively, affecting their daily life and functioning, and many reported high number of negative thoughts about climate change. That is, 75% said that they think about the future as frightening, and 83% said they think that people have failed to take care of the planet. Respondents rated governmental response to climate change negatively and reported greater feelings of betrayal than reassurance. Climate anxiety and distress were correlated with perceived inadequate government response and associated feelings of betrayal. Take a breath. Now it's time to switch gears. Now it's time to focus on hope. Specifically, active hope. The concept of active hope, held this up a few minutes ago. Joanna Macy, this woman gets kudos. Joanna Macy is now in her 90s and she is still a dynamo. What an amazing woman. She's a profound thinker, and her work over several decades has helped us reframe our relationship with these immense challenges. Macy's work encourages us to move beyond paralysis in the face of despair and channel it into constructive, sustained action. Macy teaches that by recognizing our deep interconnectedness with the natural world and with each other and our shared responsibility, we can cultivate a resilient mindset and transform fear into proactive action. She reminds me of that 12-step saying, I can't, we can. Macy describes what she calls 3 dominant stories in culture. The first story she calls the Great Unraveling, describing the progressive decline and collapse of countless interconnected elements within the social, ecological, hydrological, and atmospheric systems upon which life depends. She also includes in there rising levels of hate crimes, declining trust, and the increased use of misinformation by political leaders, all contributing factors to the Great Unraveling. The second story, she says, that we can choose is what she calls business as usual, where the underlying assumption is there's very little that needs significant change in how we live. Pretty much, economic growth is seen as paramount for prosperity. Central focus is on individual achievement, advancement, without any consideration for long-term consequences. And then she introduces the third possible story. And she calls it the Great Turning. She explains that this story is embraced by those who already believe a different future is possible, and for many of us, it's already underway. She includes people standing firm to defend the social and ecological fabric of our world, engaging in activism for the justice and preservation of life. It also encompasses those who are reinventing how we do things. Concepts like local currencies, regenerative agriculture, eco-village, solar cooperatives. Woohoo! We're going to get to solar, I promise. And also, another part of choosing the great turning is understanding that our inner and outer dimensions, our very being, is going to have to evolve, shifting our sense of identity, our aspirations, and how we relate to one another. So if you would, I'm going to assume, and I'm going to invite you to assume just for a second, that maybe there is a piece of everyone in here who might actually prefer the story of the great turning. How to create active hope. I'm going to blast through a lot of this. Most of this is not going to be new to you, but I'm reaffirming what you already know. I've already said that. Active hope, first of all, does not require optimism, and it does not require any sense of any kind of outcome. It requires activity. First of all, if you aren't already doing it, be good to yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Love yourself well. Some of the ways of doing that: eat healthy food, please. Stop eating ultra-processed junk. Most of it doesn't qualify as actual food. Please, as much as you're able, transfer your diet to a plant-based diet. I promise it's good for you, and it's very, very good for the planet. When you're looking for food to eat, the best stuff, if you look at the list of ingredients, it has one word: apple, zucchini, peanut, kumquat, squash, almonds. You get the idea. Exercise as much as you are able. You know, one of the least talked about benefits to mental health is exercise. The more we can exercise, the more fit our body is, the more we are undergirding and upgirding our mental health. I spent a lot of my early life obese. It has been a fight, it has been a struggle. I'm addicted to food. I am a food addict. I am. I fight the battle every day. I made the decision a long time ago. It was worth fighting the battle and finding the things that I could do to keep my body healthy so I can do the work that I do that I think is important as a psychotherapist, as an environmentalist, as a creation care advocate. Pray and meditate consistently. If you're not a religious person, meditate. Meditation by itself is one of the single things that we can do to reduce our own stress and anxiety. If you don't have a prayer or a meditation discipline, I encourage you to create one. Find, if you don't have one, I know a lot of people in here do, but if you don't have one, find your Sangha, your faith or spiritual community. They're everywhere. Research has shown, especially as we research seniors, the people who say they have had the highest quality of life typically have had a long-term relationship with some sort of faith community. It works. Continue to educate yourselves. Okay, write this on your hand. IPCC.ch, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is the go-to source globally for everything you truly want to know that is factual, evidence-based, true about what's happening in global climate. IPCC.ch. Go outside. Just go outside. Put the devices down, turn the TV off, shut off the notifications, go outside. If you don't have an active relationship with nature, it will help you, I promise. I talk to squirrels. We have a squirrel, she's named Peanut. She's lactating. I can't wait till she brings her babies around. Feed squirrels, feed birds. We have a bird. Great blue heron. We call her Barney. We had another one. His name was Fred. Barney. Fred didn't make it. Fred got hurt. We lost him. Now Barney. And now we have another male bird. We call him Big Bird. He's a big heron. I love these birds. I have a relationship with them. I don't know that they have one with me, but I have one with them. Nature is awesome. And I realized a long time ago, human beings will rarely care for things that they do not have a relationship with. Build your relationship with nature. I get it, we live in this urban landscape and the concrete's getting taller every day. We literally have hundreds of parks in this county. Go find them. We have miles and miles of coastline with the Gulf and the Bay. Enjoy them. Next, talk to human beings. I know, we laugh at that. But we have to say it now. Get off your devices, talk to human beings. Find people that you can share your thoughts, your emotions about all of these converging issues. I get it. You're going to meet some folks that they're going to try to shut you down. Oh, you're just being negative. Or, I don't believe any of that. Stop it. Don't talk to them. Find your people. Find your community. Find your tribe. Part of finding a tribe is important. Maybe your faith community. Expand. Find another community in some of our environmental and climate organizations. If you are in distress, if you are truly in distress and you need help, find a licensed professional. Especially about these issues, there are more and more licensed therapists coming online who are environment and climate informed. They will never tell you that what you're experiencing is overblown. They won't. They will believe you and they will help you. About environmental communities, if you don't have one, find one. Like I say, they're everywhere. How many of you know Dr. Paul Hawken? Have a resource table downstairs. One of his books is on there, great book. He's a futurist, he's a cosmologist. I think he's a physicist. Brilliant man. He said just a couple of years ago, and he had been keeping count. If you think there aren't enough environmental groups, there are now between 1 and 2 million environmental organizations around the globe. So if you can't find one, you're not looking. They are everywhere. Get out, do beach cleanups, clean up parks, pick up stuff in your neighborhood, find other people, do it with them, help a neighbor do some energy conservation stuff on their house. Get involved. Be an activist. Engage in civil discourse. Maybe even a little getting in good trouble, as we have learned. A little good trouble can be awesome. Live simply. Learn to be content with you. There is no contentment in material things. There just isn't. Learn to be content with enough. I realized a long time ago in my own life, got to the point I didn't own things. They own me. They have to be cleaned. They have to be taken care of. They have to be repaired. So here's some of the low-hanging fruit. I promise we're bringing this in here. Low-hanging fruit, stuff that you can do that's easy, that doesn't cost a penny. Turn the lights off. Turn the water off. It doesn't need to run when you're brushing your teeth. Turn the air conditioner up. In our house, we keep it 79, 80 degrees in the summer. We use ceiling fans. Ceiling fans are cheap. They use very little energy. When we leave the house, it goes up to 84, 85 degrees. It works. Conserve, conserve, conserve. When you can, leave your car at home. Walk, ride a bike, use public transportation. We have electric buses in St. Petersburg now. That is so awesome. If you can't, for some reason, if you can't do those things, choose to carpool. Share the cost with somebody else. If driving is your only option, plan multiple events, multiple trips, into one driving, so you aren't go, come, go, come, go, come. You don't do that. And when you're ready, when you need to replace, if you need to replace one of those silly vehicles, choose electric. Choose in a plug-in hybrid electric. My wife and I, we've been driving plug-in hybrid electrics for over 8 years. I hate to tell you, I don't know how much gas is today. I haven't had to put gas in my car since December. It's wonderful. Some of you are saying, why should I sacrifice my convenience and my comfort? I am so glad you asked. I want you to think about the word sacrifice because words have power. The word sacrifice comes from the Latin sacrificium, derived from secer and facere. Secer, sacred. Facere, to make. Sacrifice literally means to make sacred or to make holy. So when you are making these choices, you are choosing to make life, to make planet, to make all of God's creation sacred. Back to the to-do stuff. Reduce, reuse, recycle, repair. I want to say one thing about recycling. Check with your municipalities. I saw this horrible thing on the news this past week. I think it's Polk County. They have stopped curbside recycling because the people didn't care enough to do it, and the people who did it were throwing contaminated recyclables into the bin. So a lot of those truckloads of recyclables were getting taken to the dump because they were contaminated. Your recyclables need to be clean. Take an extra 5 seconds, swirl around the bottle, dump it out, and it's clean. Be careful because this is so important. I want you guys to repeat these 4 words after me. Will you do that? There is no away. There is no away. Every time you hear somebody say, "Oh, just throw it away." Away is here. Away may not be in your backyard, but it was somebody's backyard. It was in somebody's foraging grounds or nesting habitat. There is no away. Big stuff, when you have to replace appliances, get high SEER rated, as energy efficient as you can afford. When you have to replace an air conditioning system, central heat and air, 18 SEER and above, it's going to cost you a little more, but you will far more than recap that money over the 15 to 20 years you have that system. LED lights, we need LED lights everywhere. Finally, solar. There are people who are going to tell you, it's not energy, it's not cost efficient, it costs way too much. We've had solar for what, 15, almost 20 years now. It's worth every penny. And after the initial payoff, for the next 20 to 30 or more years, free electricity. Crazy stuff, huh? It's worth it. Conserve, conserve, conserve. I saved the big one for last. We're almost finished. We're getting there. And the big one is bigger than all the others. Vote. The reason I say it's bigger than all the others, what we do as individuals, what we do as collectives, what we do in communities does not compare to what industry does to the planet. We need elected officials who will advocate, who are climate and environment smart, who are willing to hold industry to task, to stop polluting and create clean, sustainable, renewable electricity for all of us. That's where we need, that's where we will get the biggest bang for the buck. With all that, please take a breath with me. I went through a lot, and there was so much more that I had to cut out, literally hours. One more time, take a breath, relax. Let yourself relax into these extremely comfortable pews. Let your body relax even more. because now I want you to use the most powerful resource you have. I want you to use your imagination. And if you would, keep breathing and allow your eyes to close. I want you to imagine the scene that I'm about to describe to you. It's about 100 years from now, and you are in a beautiful place, a place in nature, full of living things, vibrant, flourishing. Perhaps it's a place you've been in the past. Perhaps it's a place you have yet to go to. But in your mind's eye, look around at this, your beautiful place. Notice the time of day. Maybe it's bright sunlight. Maybe it's overcast, maybe evening. Notice the colors of all the amazing living things. Breathe in, notice any smells, any scents of nature. And now I want you to notice that there are children gathered around, sitting around you. And I want you to look at their glowing, smiling faces. Look at the beauty of their faces. And one of them says to you, "Ancestor, great-great-grandparent, we have heard the stories of when Earth was suffering and in great danger, when living beings were vanishing. Tell us what you did." Take a moment before you answer and consider what you have done and what you will be doing going forward to be a part of the great turning. And now look each one of them in the eye and tell them what you did to give them a vital, vibrant, verdant life. And another deep, deep breath. And allowing yourself to come back to the present moment. Opening eyes. And if you would, look around at each other. Kind of like smile at each other. We are in this together. Now the part about tell them what you told them. I told you. Climate change and environmental degradation, it's real. It's pretty bad. Pretty much it's us. Scientists agree. But most importantly, there is hope, there is active hope, and active hope is us. Thank you. Blessings to each of you. Peggy, is there any time for questions, or are we out of time? We have time. Any questions? Oh, seriously? There's a lot. I know there's a lot. So, yes, if we went back to simplicity, things would be better.
You'll be downstairs.
I will be downstairs. Corral me from a couple of feet. Not going to cough on anybody, I promise. I will love to carry on this conversation with any of you. Thank you so much.
If you in this moment are sitting there thinking of someone you wished had heard this, the good news is go to YouTube, it'll be there. All of this morning's event will be on YouTube. You can look it up by looking up St. Pete First United Methodist Church, and it will be there. We now have refreshments and time with your exhibitors and counselors and committee members. Thank you, everyone.